Hey all, welcome back to my channel. I am Nina Ruberti, animal communicator, intuitive energy healer, and I'm very excited today to be here with Dr. Stephen Farmer. He is a mentor of mine, but he is a world-renowned author of several best-selling books and oracle cards. He's a teacher, shamanic practitioner, licensed psychotherapist. He's an ordained minister, former college professor with 3 college degrees. He's a soul healer, and he does amazing breath work. So this is Dr. Stephen Farmer. Thank you for being here with me today.
Oh, thanks, Nina. I'm really looking forward to it. Impressive resume. My goodness, Yeah.
Yes, and you have still more to do, I'm sure.
Yeah, I still have, I'm looking at adding to, I've got more writing to do. I've got other ideas that I want to develop, with the writing, more books at least, that see happening. I've been writing. Yeah, yay, animal
We
spirit.
have a few of them.
Oh my God, you got them all. Okay, good. Yeah, and I've got the cards laid out here for 3 different spirit animal type cards that we'll get into later.
Yes.
But yeah, thanks for having me as your guest. I always enjoy talking about this topic, animal spirit guides. It basically, I think that we're in a period right now where we really need to be able to have other kinds of guidance, that other kinds being, you could say, spiritual guidance or relationships with the various beings on this planet that also are emanations of spirit, if you will, physicalized expressions of source or spirit or God or whatever you want to say. So it's our job, and I would say ours as well as yours, to show people it can be done. You can get messages not just from animals, but from spirit animals as well. And as an animal communicator, you know what? I wish I had more finesse about animal communication because of my dog. I'd like to,
Oh.
you want, you're whining. What is it? You want to go? But anyway, but there is, every animal also has a corollary, which is what we're going to call spirit animals. We'll get into that here as we go on. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for having me on your channel.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, I mean, Stephen, he has been a mentor to me, and we did a lot of work together for about 6 months, I guess. I think it was, or something like that, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And the breath work, I remember doing the breath work was phenomenal of what it was, the different exercises that you did and the journeys that I did during the breath work that we did. It was amazing.
Yeah, the originator of what is generally called breath work, because you could go, there's all sorts of kinds of breath work, but this one is something that was developed by Stanislav Grof, and he called it holotropic breath work. And then there's other versions of this, different names, etc. But the essence of it is very simple, is that you do this slow conscious breathing, without any gaps or pauses. You can pause, but basically you aim to not have any pauses. And what it does, it induces eventually, after breathing that way for a few minutes, induces an altered state. And in that altered state, like you said, you end up having messages come in. You might have a journey of some sort, etc. So it's really valuable, and it's really available to anybody who's listening. You just look up a holotropic breathwork or breathwork in your neighborhood. Friend of mine, Linda Starwolf, does a version she calls shamanic breathwork. So that's a resource. Anyway, yeah, it's that, and then doing readings, getting messages from the spirit animals really is absolutely. I almost want to say, Nina, essential.
Yes.
Receive guidance from some spirit beings. Some people, work with the angels. That's fine. Others, a dear friend of mine, she works a lot with nature spirits, which also, and then, one of my main gigs here is the spirit animals and it's really basically, it's very, and we'll talk about that more, but just how do you do that?
And I mean, yeah, it is amazing. I mean, I know yesterday, just with speaking of spirit animals, was that physically a bear keeps showing up. And as Bailey and I are walking and, looking up the meaning of the spirit for the spirit animal of bear, where it's showing up physically, it is about setting clear boundaries. which is very interesting because that is something that I am working on, of setting clear boundaries in sessions and with, friends and colleagues as to how that looks. And so it's interesting because the bear has shown up quite a few times. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's like 1, 2, 3. It's like, what is the message here? And so it's clear boundaries, setting the clear boundaries, which is very interesting because, right, as we know, spirit works in amazing ways and things show up for us when we need it.
Absolutely. And the message that you got from bear spirit was instigated by a physical bear.
Correct.
That's
Yes.
often basically 25 words or less. How do you tell if an animal is providing that sort of messaging system, from the spirit? And that is if an animal shows up in an unusual way and or repeatedly in a short space of time. And by the way, it may not be it doesn't have to just be the physical animal.
Right.
Sure that your listeners have had dreams about animals.
Mhm.
So there might be a very significant dream where an animal shows up, in a very obvious way, and you wake up going, what was that about?
Right.
So that's the idea, or that's how you tell if maybe this animal isn't just an interesting sighting. Like I shared with you before we started, there was a black bear that came into the backyard here, and Scout, my 4-year-old lab, started barking and got all excited and everything. And I peeked open the door just a little bit to see the bear. And he pushed the door open and went out. I went, oh my God, no. But he actually scared the bear off. The bear
Oh, that's
ran.
good.
Yeah. Speaking of boundaries.
Right. Yes, preserving his boundaries. It's
So
a
that's
sacred home.
yeah, that's that's formulaic to some extent, but it's an easy way to remember.
Right.
And people that are watching this, if you do happen to see an animal in an unusual way, whether it's the physical or the symbolic animal, like in a
Mhm.
dream, or sometimes you get the same picture several times of a particular animal, that's repetition. So an
Right.
unusual or repetitive, that's what we're looking for. And here's what's going on. First off, let's start with a basic assumption here that we really are much more connected in
Mhm.
not just our consciousness or the expression of capital C consciousness, but everything is an expression of that consciousness.
Right.
And we can cue into that in certain ways, whether it's ordinarily non-visible beings, ancestors, for instance, or
Mhm.
what I find, I'm kind of a land animal anyway. I like the earth. I really like the earth and all it's about. Whether it's trees, that you can get messages from the trees, you can get
Mhm.
messages from the celestial, you can get messages from rocks.
Right.
I mean, there's
System.
all different ways, but it takes a little bit of discipline and practice to get these
Mhm.
messages. What I find, Nina, is that spirit animals are a fairly easy way to begin to see how this works, to
Mm.
experience how this works.
Right.
I love it. I love it. The bear coming into the yard, for instance. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, what's the meaning of that? Well, here's how I would suggest. One, look it up.
Look it up. Get his book.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that book there is very, very popular. It's one of my best sellers.
Yeah.
And the reason for it, it's sort of it's like an encyclopedia, of 100 and some, yeah, and that too. Thank you.
These two. We got a few.
I'll show up one other one that's I'm going to be working on a second deck. It's the children's spirit animal card.
Oh, wow. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, the aim is to introduce children to this
Yeah.
idea. First off, it's just going to be the pretty pictures of the animals, at two
Right.
years old, 3 years old. But then eventually the parents can show them how this works in the way that I've just described.
Or
So
maybe the kids are showing the parents how it works because they're more open.
that too, that's a real big possibility. So anyway, that's the first possibility is look it up.
Mhm.
Whether it's that book, The Animal Spirit Guides or Pocket Guide or the cards or anything like that. That's why I'm doing this, that's a great introduction to how to receive those messages. And a lot of people that I've taught, that I've communicated with, that's how they do it. They look it up in this book or that book,
Yep.
or you don't want to buy a book, I shouldn't say this, but go to the internet. It's a great
Yeah.
resource, and just type in bear spirit animal,
Yeah. Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
bear totem animal, bear power animal, messages from bear spirit, something like that.
Mhm.
See what comes up. And then here's the key. When you read something like that, whether it's from one of the books or on the internet, in response to your inquiry about what's the message,
Mhm.
you might, like in my book, the Animal Spirit Guide's book, the Blue Book, there's typically under any of the animals, seven or eight possible
Mhm.
meanings or messages. What I call resonance, when there's something that jumps out at you that resonates with you, that you get a vibrational feel, after you read that possible message,
Right.
that's the message. So pay attention to how your body responds
Yes.
in that way of resonating, or it just makes sense. The second way, though, and this is where it gets interesting, or I should say more interesting, is ask the spirit of the animal.
Mhm.
Here's how that goes, Nina. Um, you ask bear spirit, since bear is kind of the popular theme here this morning or today.
Right.
Bear, by the way, which if you address the animal that way, bear, you're talking really about bear spirit. It's just a small thing,
Like
but
the collective. The
yeah,
collective.
versus a bear or the bear. Yeah, thank you. The collective consciousness of
Mhm.
all bears. This bear has shown up for you to give you a message, to provide some guidance in some way. So you close your eyes and just in your mind, or you could say it out loud, something like bear spirit, what's your message? And then this is really important. Pay attention as soon as you ask, whether mentally or out loud, to what you see, what you hear, what
Mhm.
you feel. What you see and what you hear, both internal and external, in the mind's eye, or your vision is drawn to something over here that has meaning in terms of the inquiry that you're making. Same thing with hearing, is that there might be a sound that comes up that has significance in terms of a response to your inquiry. And internally, that inner voice, like I'm a writer, so I get I love words, and, I hear things in the inner voice. That's often how I get my messages. The third way, some people call it cognitive. You just know.
Mm. Right.
Well, I call that intuition.
Yeah.
And I have come to the conclusion, and if you ask me 2 years from now, I might change it. But right now, I've come to the conclusion that we actually do feel something in our body
Mhm.
that translates to a thought. But it's so quick and instantaneous that the way we describe it is just, gosh, I don't know how I knew that, but I just know it. In fact,
Right.
I
Yeah.
suspect that you do that in your work with
Yeah.
animals.
And you do just know. Well, and also, I think the main thing is that you have to trust what it is that you receive. Like, because you've been doing this for so long and you kind of, that what you're receiving is your truth or accurate.
Yeah.
But I think if you're starting out, if you're, possibly just kind of new to animal spirit guides or what they are and how do you receive those messages, when you receive that information, like you receive, like you're saying, the downloads of whether you hear something or you see it, but you have to trust what it is. It's valid. It's real because you can't make it up. Like there's no
Really
reason for you to make it up. Right.
well stated. No, I think is trust what you get. And I would add to that, Nina, that even if at the time, right at that time, it doesn't make complete sense,
Right.
let it work you. In
Hmm.
other words, let it stay, just kind of let it stay with you and allow it to process through. And then maybe something else will show up, let's say, as a confirmation of the
Yeah.
message. Or you go shopping and somebody says something as they pass, and you go, oh, clarification about that original message. That's
Yeah.
how spirit works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get chills when I say that, because
Yeah. It's amazing.
the magic of spirit. And
Right.
we're coming to an era right now with the turmoil in the world and the planetary changes and such like that.
Hmm.
I find, that a lot of people, I think, are especially empaths, and empaths are just simply people who are very sensitive in many ways. You're an empath. I am as well. You got to learn certain skills to deal with that, self-protection, etc. Psychic protection, you could say.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
the era that we're in is, I think, particularly critical that we develop spiritual disciplines,
Hmm.
things that really help us stay attuned to spirit as much as possible.
Yes.
I know I'm not perfect at it, nor I pretend to be. I'm not an ascended master, and I say I'm pretty good at what I do. I know that.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
I'm really good at what I do, actually, and I'm also grateful and blessed to be able to do that because
Right.
to me it's a service,
Hmm.
and that service, what comes out of that is that other people will then go on to teach others and
Right.
inspire others perhaps to develop, let's say, a spiritual discipline on a daily basis. And I do mean daily.
Hmm.
Spiritual discipline could be any, it could be yoga, conscious yoga. It could be meditation. It could be journaling, which I really like that, the
Right.
journaling. It could be sitting and meditating. It could be asking the angels, for
Hmm.
message, thanking the angels, or the spirit guides, the ancestors, etc. There's a whole opportunity, right before us, and that envelops us, if you will, that we can receive that kind of guidance, protection, etc. I've got a raven on my doorstep out here. It's a big metal raven. He's got his wings spread like this, and he's like looking out like this. It's a beautiful piece, an iron sculpting, if iron can be sculpted, but it's made out of iron, very heavy. But man, he's out there watching all the time. So I've developed, or I was given, a certain sacred ritual, which is as much as I possibly can. Every time I go into the house, lick my two fingers for some reason, tap his head, and say, "Thank you, Raven.
Oh,
Thank you for protecting us.
wow.
Thank you. Thank you for excuse me, thank you for your guidance." So I really trust that.
Yeah.
That's that element, that we need to add to this is trust the message that you get. Trust that there are spirit guides that are with you on until death.
Yeah.
I know that my ancestors are hanging out over there, when it's my time, and they're going to go, "Oh, well, good, welcome."
Right. Yeah.
I
Sure.
just know
Yeah.
that, and we'll see what happens. The body dies, but something else goes on.
Right. Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think the spirit guides, like you saying thank you to the raven, like because getting into nature is one of the ways that I do a lot of meditation or just connecting back with myself and with the guides. But our spirit guides, our animal guides are here to to assist us in life and to protect us and guide us and give us inspirations and all of those things, which that at times we're like, oh, that idea just all of a sudden appeared, but that's our assistance from our animal guides.
Yeah, yeah. We have an unusual situation here. I live in Ashland, as we talked about,
Mhm.
Oregon, and it's so interesting because the speed limit in the circumference of the town is very low. It's 25 miles an hour. Yeah, I know. The California driver that drives California drivers crazy. But going through town,
Her pace.
a large part of town, it's 20 miles an hour. And I was always curious, why is it 20? Because that's
Right.
pretty slow, and I do obey the law. And here's why, is that somebody told me it's because the town or the community has said they want to protect pedestrians and they
Mm.
want to protect wildlife. And we have deer
Oh,
quite
right.
often, that will walk across the street right
Yeah.
at going 20 miles an hour. And there's why you go 20 miles an hour.
Right.
Or seeing, so it's not, I mentioned unusual for spirit animal messages. It's not unusual to see deer, but on occasion there's an unusual kind of behavior, from the deer. A stag that lifts his head, 10 feet away from the car, looking right
Yeah.
at it, and
Right.
the antlers are going out. And okay, what's the message? Pay attention to the messages you're receiving. These are like antenna.
Yes.
That's one message possibility. A mother, a doe that has two fawn, two
Mm.
babies, in other words, walking by, innocence message, really tap into that part of you that's very innocent. playful, good sense of humor, all the things that go with what I would call innocence.
Yeah.
Gentleness often is what you might find if you look up deer, is they're so gentle and just so exquisite, big eyes, and they really convey a real gentleness,
Yeah.
especially the mother and the two fawn.
Yeah. I mean, it is amazing because it really is kind of, you do see it everywhere, because I know like when I walk with Bailey a lot and we're in nature, the animals that you see, like we've seen a lot of bunnies recently, and it's not really time for bunnies this time of year.
Um,
That's usually in the spring. And actually, I should look that up to see the bunnies because we've seen a few of them. And they just kind of, it's interesting because when I walk with Bailey, I think he is of such a high vibration that he kind of, there's a attunement or a healing once like that, he kind of trickles out into the world as he's walking. So when we're walking, the bunnies and him, they just kind of cohabitate. Like he's not chasing the bunny or the bunny's not running. It's just kind of like they acknowledge each other and they move on. Because it's on a certain, I think, a frequency that they are both on. I mean, it's fine. It's kind of fast. It's fascinating to watch, but
that's very cool. Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to
yeah.
put you on the spot. So I have some ideas that pop again, inner hearing, that popped into my head as you talked about
Right.
the bunnies. Just offhand, and if nothing comes to you right away, it's fine. But what message, if any, do you get from that? From both the fact that there's a lot of bunnies around, out of season, unusual.
Right. It's completely out of season.
Your dog Bailey gets along so well,
Yeah.
with wildlife. Anything come to mind offhand?
Okay. Well, it's interesting because as you said, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I was like, okay, bunny. What comes to me as bunny? And I just heard like fertility. Okay, I'm not like but that's all in different ways, right? It's not
Good.
like me having a baby because I'm way past that age, and that's not going to happen. But yeah, I was just hearing fertility.
Okay, that's
That
legit.
was
That's legit. It suggests if you take it a little further, that suggests too that this is a real fertile time for you right now,
right.
that your work and what you're bringing into the world, Nina, is really important right now. And there's a lot of juices flowing, so to speak, in your consciousness and your work itself.
Oh, right.
The piece I got was I have to recall back to it. First off, my body wants to go like this, like be on alert. So that's what I talk about. Pay attention to your
Interesting. Right.
on your body. It's just be alert. It does not like, oh my God, be alert, panicky and
Right.
but just pay attention. It might mean driving more carefully.
Yeah. I do speed. So,
Yeah, be on alert. The other is well, like you said, fertility. This is a time of a lot of birthing and unusual experiences that will be meaningful to you as you pay attention to these experiences. Try that out. I often say to people, don't believe me or disbelieve me, but try
yeah.
it. Try it out for yourself and see how you experience that.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely resonates.
Yeah. Oh, good.
All of that, of whatever, and the fertility, as you're saying, it's the creative side of that's coming through. And there are a lot of ideas like that I have that I've been working on growing my business or my YouTube channel, which as I'm going to put in, will you please subscribe to my YouTube channel? But yeah, I mean, that all does resonate, and to be on alert. But yeah, it's amazing how just animals, as you're walking through nature or just you're walking through your neighborhood, to pay attention to signs like that, because
no, it's very good. Yeah, walking through your neighborhood. Again, it doesn't have to be the physical animal. It could be a symbol of the animal, especially when there's a repetition going on.
right.
When you see again images, dreams, etc., that continue to show you bunnies, rabbits, etc., then pay attention. Maybe 3 times, in a short space of time. You want to not don't get set on 3, but yeah, repeat it. And when it's repeated like that, the other thing I was thinking about Bailey, your dog Bailey,
Yes. Yes.
and bunnies and what you described and how they interact, and the possible message in that is that there's an alliance that's occurring with that between, we could say, our human world, which includes dogs,
Correct.
and the wilds. Even though sometimes we don't think of bunny as wild, but
Right.
they are. They're wild animals.
They're wild animals, right? Yes.
live out there,
Yeah.
in the wilds, in the wilderness.
Right.
And the compatibility that's occurring right now, especially for you, since this is your experience and what you observed,
Right.
between you could say your usual self and the wilds.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
That
Yeah.
makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. I mean, it makes so much sense because it is the connection from, let's say, the domesticated world that we live in on a day-to-day basis and the wild, even though their bunnies are really sweet, but it does make sense of being the bridge because I do give gratitude every day when I have animal communication sessions of being the bridge from the animal to the human, and being able to be the voice of the animal. So that actually makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, interesting experience that I had just lately. I do something, I'll call it journaling, basically is every morning as much as I possibly can. Sometimes I might skip, but mostly I'd say probably 90% of every,
Hmm.
each morning. One of the first things I do, grab my coffee, sit down, open the computer, and I have a journal, an ongoing journal. I've had this going on for, I think, probably almost 11 years now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'll put the date on it, and then I'll write a little piece, almost like diary writing. This is what's
Right. Yeah.
blah blah blah, and I had this experience, etc. To have, excuse me, have a recording of just what's going on in my life.
Hmm.
Then I do something that is really interesting, and again, I invite everybody who's listening to give it a shot. You give this a try, and this is my spiritual discipline. My main. I would say my main one. It really, when I start the day this way, it's like, it just adds a little extra to the day.
Right.
What I do is I close my eyes. I have my fingers on the keyboard. I do pretty well typing. My fingers sometimes make decisions that have nothing to do with me, but basically I can type as I'm listening. I basically transcribe what messages I receive. So
Wow.
it could be sometimes it's just what I call or who I call the teacher.
Right.
So LOT and go, okay, what's up? And then I write whatever I am told. It could be my ancestors. There's one particular elder ancestor that shows up. Could be a spirit animal. Raven, quite frequently, is the one that communicates in this way. He'll squawk a little at first, and then we get going with the message, etc. And it really helps start the day that way. So again, go back to encouraging those of you who are
Yeah.
listening. Is develop something. The writing might be your gig. If that's not it, yoga,
Yeah.
meditation, learn to do the shamanic journey. That's a way of getting this information that I think is, again, I'm stressing this, but I think it's really critical right now.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
Have available to you some sort of guidance from the ordinarily non-visible beings.
Right.
Again, spirit animals are cool because you get to see the animal, and then that sparks the inquiry as to what the message might be. Like the bear. Let me jump back to the bear that was in the backyard. The first message was actually the dynamic between my dog, Scout, and the
Right.
bear. And he was so like vigilant and protective. And I get chills when I say that. So I trust that.
Right.
That was really the main message that had to do with the dynamic between the two animals.
Wow.
The other is that the bear actually, when the dog started barking, first off, Scout pushed the door open and went after him. And I went, oh my God.
Right.
He scared the bear.
Yeah, which is great.
Another dimension to the message, you are protected. Come on.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You're protected. Do what you have to do, but you are protected. I didn't go down and try to pet the bear.
No.
Oh, no, no, no.
Sometimes I think you can. Like I
I've seen a couple of videos and no,
Yeah, right. No.
no,
They're
no.
wild animals.
And that's another message that comes through is respect.
Right. Wow. Yes.
Respect for the natural world, and especially the animals, but
Yeah.
the natural world generally. I'll tell you one other sacred ritual I consider it. I'll take my dog out, and I have one of these chuckers I throw the ball with. So
Hmm.
he just loves
Right.
to. And I forgot, I lost track of where I was going with this. Oh, yeah, okay, got it. I usually carry water in the car. I
Hmm.
take to a park that's nearby where he can run and be unleashed. And he does. And I carry water in some bowls in the car.
Right.
After he's done, he comes over and I pour some water. Usually he leaves a little bit. And a sacred ritual that I've incorporated is I will go to a nearby tree with the bowl of just a little bit of
Oh,
water. And I go to the tree and I say, as I pour the water, this is my give back. I know it's very small, but it's the intention of that. The
right.
recipe. Thank you for all. Thank you, tree, and thank you, tree spirit, for all that you provide. And then I pour the water right at the base of the tree. And I say, thank you, Earth Mother, for allowing us to live, to exist on your body and
Right.
sustenance that you provide.
That's,
And I know it's a small sacred
oh,
ritual.
that's beautiful though.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. That is, I
uh,
think it's beautiful because you're respecting Mother Earth and that we're cohabitating with her and walking on her, and unfortunately, sometimes not treating her too well. But that's I think, and the trees, and I mean, because we're all rooted underneath, right, with all the trees, and we're
that
all
is
connected. So that's beautiful. Actually, I'm gonna
yeah,
start.
it's a very simple sacred ceremony or sacred ritual. And yeah, please use it. Anybody who's listening, use it, in some way. And where that comes from is a book that I really enjoyed. It's called Braiding Sweetgrass. Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Remember the title, Braiding Sweetgrass. Sweetgrass is an herb or a plant that's often woven together. The strands are woven together, and sometimes it's burned so that the smoke goes out. And what its effect is spiritually is that it's both a clearing and a calling. You're you're clearing as well as calling in beneficial spirits, let's say.
Right.
So a good ritual there is take some sage,
Hmm.
burn it, clear your house with it, use a feather or your hand. But again, it's the sincerity in your intention to
Hmm.
say the bad energy or the negative energy.
Right.
And then follow that once that's complete with the sweetgrass, because then it
Yeah.
calls in the spirits. Now there's a little more room for them.
Right.
That's,
Right. Brings in the good energy
yeah,
or good spirits or whatever it is. Yes.
yeah, it's good stuff. And again,
Yeah.
our ancestors, I don't care what your ethnicity is,
Yeah.
but our long ago ancestors lived the land,
Yes.
not just
Right.
on the land, but with the land.
Hmm.
And I think we're beginning to sort of open up our consciousness to that ancestral knowing that we are connected with the land. And so there is, Robin Wall Kimmerer talks about reciprocity.
Right.
That's why I bring that up in the book, Braiding Sweetgrass. She's both a Native American and a biologist.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a combination. Highly recommend the book, one of my favorite books in the last few years. So anyway, I'm kind of drifting away from spirit animals, but it's all incorporated with
Yeah.
the um, awareness, increasing awareness in our consciousness
Hmm.
of the fact that, wow, you're never really alone.
No.
Never,
No.
ever, ever.
No.
So that, and you can get, again, back to, you can get messages from various beings of the world.
Hmm.
Stone, this friend of mine, Eva Blacktail Swan, she's a Cherokee medicine woman. She calls trees the standing ones,
Oh, yeah. And that's true. Right.
cloud people,
Hmm.
the stone people,
Right.
the animal people.
Hmm.
And the implication is by adding that word that we are related. So
Right. Together.
she's great. She goes out in the land every morning and then writes up what she receives, the information she receives, and has her and her husband have a buffalo ranch. So they've got some acreage in Colorado that, she goes out on the land and an amazing dedication every day. And then she writes it up and then sends it out on email.
Wow. That's amazing. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a great reminder, or just to be able to like receive something that in the morning and to read it. And it kind of just infuses in your day. And I think that it raises our frequency as we walk, on the earth, unfortunately, or how we walk in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an amazing, I'm stumbling over words here, unusual, but it's, there's a few things in life that are truly awesome.
Yeah.
Getting direct change back from somebody is not awesome. Oh, awesome. Or giving them the right anyway. And a little bit of it, like, no, that's not awesome. Let me show you something awesome. Come on up here on the mountain, we can take a look.
Yeah.
Or this lake or whatever it may be.
Yes.
But it's an amazing world. And wow, it's been around 4.5 billion years.
Yeah. Yes.
Big rock. It's floating around in the universe, in the galaxy,
Yeah.
and has formed in some miraculous way, has had life.
Yes.
Over eons, and has had challenges too, or different,
Right.
if you will, in the evolution of the.
Mhm.
And we're in a process of evolution. We're constantly in
Yeah.
that process, but
Yes.
particularly now where things are just changing and it's a little more challenging.
Yes. Yes. Much more
Again, I
challenging.
go back to that's critical. That's why.
Mhm.
And those of you who are listening, I just urge you, experiment with this. Seek out teaching. If you've got, you want to learn animal communication, go to Nina, because she's an excellent, excellent teacher in that. And
Or come to you for your mentorship.
yeah, the mentorship, I do work with, on a few different levels. I've got the shamanic as well as the psychotherapeutic. I've done hypnosis. And I like the mentorship. I do healing work, shamanic or otherwise, trauma specialist, which is a big word these days and an important
You're
one.
right. Yes.
It's what I've been called to do. And
Yeah.
then an important aspect of this, you would agree, and I'm sure the listeners would agree, is this communion
Right.
that we can develop, and to some degree perhaps have developed it with the natural world and all
Mhm.
of the beings as physical representations of great spirit, of
Right.
source.
Yes.
Tune into that. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And have an easier life,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it really is, because when we're in unity and community and communion with all that, we kind of walk easier on this earth plane, because
Yeah.
we do have guidance and we are protected, and it is from a higher, it's just not this physical 3D that we are in. It's, as you've been saying, and that we both know, it is so far more expansive than what it is we can even imagine.
Yeah. One of the things too that we discussed, before we started the recording is oracle cards, specifically mine, but there's probably 300, 400 different versions.
Yeah. Tons.
Doesn't matter to me which ones you use, but since we are talking about animals, I have created, or more precisely, co-created these. Yes.
There's 2 decks I have.
One of the first
You
ones.
have many more, I know.
But I thought, Nina, as we discussed, I thought I would pull one here.
Yeah.
From this particular deck, the Power Animal Oracle cards. There are others as messages from the Animal Spirit Guides. There's one that it looks like I'm just going to be talking to somebody fairly soon. Then I'm going to do a part 2 of this one, Children's Spirit Animal.
See, that's amazing. That's awesome.
But we'll see.
Is there a bunny on that? I couldn't see. Is there a bunny on there?
Interesting. There's a synchronicity, a reference.
Oh my goodness.
That's, by the way, how things work.
Right.
Yeah, we often call them synchronicities. Lately,
yes, you can't make it up.
I've called them weavings.
Yes.
These kind of experiences where, we're talking about bunnies, and then later I show up and inadvertently, not noticing it or putting it together, you caught it.
Yeah, the creative juices flowing. There you go, as you're creating your deck. Creativity.
So I'm going to pull a card here before we conclude from the Power Animals deck, and this is for everybody who's listening, including us.
Right.
And usually it's a matter of, I'm actually doing a Facebook Live, I think in a couple of weeks. You can go to my website, gang, DR, like drstephenfarmer.com, and you'll get the information, or my Facebook page, Dr. Stephen Farmer.
And I'll put all that information in the description
Oh, thank you.
for
Okay.
you. So yes. Yeah.
Well, you're great. So good to see you again, too.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you.
And appreciate the work that you're doing,
Thank
very
you.
much in the world. So I'm going to pull a card here. I'm going to shut up for just like 2 seconds here. And this is for everybody. This is the message. Okay. And again, I trust it.
Yes.
So we'll see. Whoa. I get chills on this one. You'll see, and I'll read it. Fox.
All
Adapt
right. Adapt to the change. Wow. Adapt to the changes.
to changes that are happening. Could there be a better message for now? The adaptation. That is a remarkable characteristic we have as human beings. It's been proven that we are adaptable, very adaptable. Look how adaptable we've been. We've overrun the planet.
Yeah.
So that requires certain adaptability. But putting all that aside, that's a very, I'm like very pleased, and thank you, Fox Spirit,
Thank you.
delivering the message through this vehicle, to just be ready, adapt to the situation, rather than fussing and moaning and, oh, it didn't go right. Adapt to it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because there's always a lesson in it, and it's always usually for our highest good. So even though it doesn't necessarily go our way, there's usually a better, a higher reason for that.
Yeah, what comes to mind too is something that's been in my conscious. Yes, I agree with you. There's a source is coming through. That's just a vehicle, if you will.
Right.
And it represents Fox Spirit, of course, that brings forth that message. I have one other piece I want to share. This has come up lately. There's a documentary I saw, gosh, a few years back, and I wrote a note here to look it up, see if I can find it somewhere. And the title of the documentary is simply Happiness.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And what it is, it's researchers that have studied happiness.
Yes, I've actually seen that. I think I saw that years ago.
Yeah,
Maybe out of Sweden or somewhere, I believe, which they're supposedly the happiest country, I think.
Yeah, it could be. And there's a lot of material in it, based on, again, the research that's been done, the sociological and psychological research. But my takeaway, the one thing that I took away from is one researcher was saying, one thing we found out is to be happy, do something different. Break the routine, break the ritual.
Right.
I'll give you, for instance. So I thought, that's going to be my experiment these past few days, and then going forward,
right,
is shake things up a little bit. Get in habit, and silly little things like, instead of having 2 cups of coffee in the morning, just have one. See how. And the other thing is exercise. I'm religious about exercise. I think really you too, very important. Stretching, yoga, some strength training, cardio, the whole thing. But I usually do it like 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And the other morning I had an open morning, and I thought, okay, Stephen, you were talking about doing something different. And, I actually went through my exercise regimen, and it was, and I did things differently too, by the way. Yeah, I tried some different kind of things. I do a combo of cardio and strength training. I got some dumbbell weights and that kind of thing. I tell you, I felt just splendid for the whole day.
Yeah. I usually work out in the morning. It's just easier for me. Like, I take Bailey for a walk, and then I go to yoga or do something. And for me in the morning, it's easier, but you feel energized. Like, it's just, you feel like you have more strength, energy, or you're happy because it releases those endorphins, I think, when you're working out in the morning.
If it works for you, they say don't fix it. If it works.
Right.
However, it'd be interesting to experiment a little bit with it. Do it midday. Just to see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to feel miserable the whole day until you work out.
I don't know, right?
I don't know.
Who knows? Well, also, though, when you were saying pulling cards, I had pulled cards beforehand for the collective consciousness. And it's funny because you're saying change, but I had pulled the dolphin for playfulness. So it's like, as you're talking about happiness, which brings in playfulness, or however it is that we, it looks in our world, to be playful and to bring in that jovial
Absolutely.
happiness and playfulness in our world, in our life.
Well, I'll tag that with another short story.
Yes.
My guides have continually reminded me periodically in my what I call them downloads that I was describing, three things that are really important. Stand or sit, but stand tall,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
breathe. What a concept.
Right.
And keep your sense of humor.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what's come up lately is I'm looking over to my left because I don't want to spend a lot of time finding it because it was right here, and then I shuffled the deck. Hummingbird.
Oh, I love the hummingbird.
It's very much in alignment with what you just said about what Dolphin said about playfulness. The bottom of the cards have the message, and the message of hummingbird is lighten up.
Oh, wow.
And
Yes.
so it's very congruent with keep your sense of humor.
Right.
And
Yeah.
to be playful,
Mhm.
to lighten up. Don't get caught up in seriousness. There are serious things to deal with, in the world. I'm
Right.
not aware of that, but too often it's almost as if walking around going, "This is life. This is really serious." As you're cooking your eggs or something like
Yeah.
that.
I am not that person, but
Anyway,
I'm usually laughing through life, whether it's difficult or not. But yes.
I wish I had the hummingbird one, but oh well.
Oh, I wonder if oh yeah, the hummingbird. I probably,
Well,
oh, it's right here. Lighten up.
oh, you got perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Which is
Yeah,
beautiful.
well, I got a copy. I've got an 8.5 by 11 copy of that image that's off to the left of it's a reminder.
Yeah.
It's a reminder
Yes.
to I don't get caught up in because I think that, especially when I was younger, I was very serious, grew up in a crazy family and all that stuff. But, I got into I think I was a very serious child and adolescent in a lot of ways. So this is a good continual reminder and
Yeah.
have an image there. And
And
who
it
else?
says joy on it too.
Yeah.
So joy. Yeah. Which is a high vibration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Nina, thank you.
Well,
Thank you so much for, having
I
me
was
here.
about to say the same thing. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, both praise each other.
Yes, I mean, it's been an honor, and I'm so grateful for you to be here and just to discussing because you have so much knowledge and wisdom for so many years of like what 40 years, I guess, or longer, possibly. I don't know how long of doing it, but
Give me a few
I
more.
won't. Okay, we won't talk about years then. Right?
Yeah,
Many,
no,
many years of
been
wisdom and knowledge.
I've been
So
on this.
I'm very grateful. Yes.
Well, thanks. And I feel that I think of the work that I do as a calling. You
Yes.
know, I believe, excuse me, I don't just believe, I know it.
Right.
It's like spirit going, "Psst, come here, Nina. We have an assignment for you, and you go,
Yeah.
why am I restless tonight?
Right.
You're trying to go to sleep, and spirit's going, "Psst, remember what you do."
Yes. Here's this is what you need to do. Oh, yeah. You start writing
That's
things
it.
down.
Yeah, it's a calling, and I feel grateful and blessed, to be able to do this work and to be able to offer this in service to the world and to our larger community.
Yes.
And people are very responsive to this, as you well know, to the ideas that we've been discussing, and having this conversation about. And again, I want to put a pitch in for you because, yeah, you're the real deal, as far as communication and also other kinds of spiritual work that you do, the healing that you do. So thank you for your work as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. And I will put all of your information in the description below, but they can find you by Dr. Stephen Farmer, I think, .com.
drstephenfarmer.com is the website, and you can go there and there's articles and videos and stuff like that. And then the Facebook is same thing, Dr. Stephen Farmer. Yeah.
Yes. And then I would appreciate if y'all subscribe to my channel, like and share it. And if you're interested in any session, animal communication, or energy healing, I'm at ninaruberti.com. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll put all that information below. But I give gratitude. Thank you so much. And I'm honored for you accepting to do this with me. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my
And
thanks.
appreciate everyone listening. And I always say, go get into nature to raise your vibration high and connect with Mother Earth. So, and the animal guides and the spirit guides. So thank you.